Hello, and welcome to our password tutorial. Today, we will show you how to create strong and memorable passwords. We will be using the character Adam to help develop our password creation method today.
Before we begin creating a password, we need to understand what truly makes a password strong. Is it simply the amount of characters? Does including special characters help it at all? Or perhaps the amount of variation is the key element? All of these ways of thinking have us believing that a strong password cannot be memorable. This is not the case, and we'll show you why.
You see, the reason a password has to be strong is because we need to protect our authenticity. In the computer world, access controls is the name of the art of restricting, you guessed it, access. There are two basic parts to computer access controls: identification and authentication.
Identification is the top layer, which simply allows for users of a system to be uniquely identified, without revealing too much personal information about themselves, of course. This is usually your username. Such examples could be iHeartEdward95 at twihard.com or xxdeathshot45xx.
The next layer is what we are really concerned with today, though, and that's authentication, like I was talking about. Now, authentication is tricky because it really must verify your identity. This means that the person claiming to be you must have some way to prove that they are in fact you. By far, the most common way to do this is with passphrases. Organizations from across the world have used passphrases to verify their members' identities for as long as those organizations have been in existence. The reason for this is because those passphrases work. If you know something no one else knows, then you have a very good way to verify that you are in fact yourself.
As long as we need to protect our information, we will need passphrases. The key to making a strong passphrase depends on the way people will try to steal them. For us, there are a few different ways that most people will try to steal or crack your password.
The most basic way to do this is to simply guess the password. Generally, people make their passwords pretty easy to remember, so a quick look at a password frequency table or just a list of some common passwords will get us those. The most likely scenario for this type of attack, however, is when the attacker knows a pretty good amount of information about the victim. This way they can refine their search to something within the victim's personal interests.
For example, if I were to try to guess Adam's passwords, I might guess such things as apple, Eve, garden, Eden. These are all really short phrases that have some sort of importance to him, so I'm trying to limit my guesses down to only the most realistic options.
Another, more advanced way to crack passwords is called a brute force attack. Brute forcing is pretty much just a step up from guessing. In fact, it is still essentially guessing, just a lot of it very quickly. Brute force attacks are when someone uses software to guess passwords on a system or website at speeds as high as 2.8 billion passwords per second, and that's just on a regular stock computer that you and I could buy. This graph illustrates the range of characters that an attacker might try and attack your system with. He's going to guess passwords between the 4 and 8 character range that you can see here. Anything shorter than 3 he's not going to waste his time with because most systems will just reject outright. If you try and enter a 3-character password for your Windows, it generally is not going to accept it. And since most human tendency relies on selecting a password that we can remember, that password is generally between 4 and 8 characters. Anything greater than 9 becomes difficult for us to remember it. So we tend to kind of stay away from those, which is why you see them not wasting their time guessing them. It also becomes very resource intensive for them to guess that number of characters.
These kind of attacks tell us how we need to mold our passwords. We need to use a variety of characters and try to use no plain English words. We don't use any plain English words because generally they're too short. And the longer the password is, the harder it is to crack. Bigger is always better.
Okay, so now that we understand what we need in our password, we can begin creating a strong and memorable one. The first step in creating a good password is to first imagine something that may be meaningful to you. For example, our character Adam, he might choose Eve as his meaningful item. Since just Eve alone won't give us a very strong password, we need to elaborate on this a little. We might ask, what does Eve like to do? Adam might respond in this scenario with, Eve likes to eat apples. That's really helpful because that short phrase alone gives us some more content to filter into our password.
Now, Current experts today tell us that in order for our password to be strong, we need to utilize as many unconventional characters as possible. This is something anyone can do with their passwords and make it really easy to remember. Now, we can get our special character by using the commonly accepted @ symbol. We use our @ symbol to say which service the password is for, such as Eve likes to eat apples at Facebook, or at Twitter. Sometimes the @ symbol will not be accepted, so you should try to use an underscore, a space, a period, anything that the engine will accept. This gives us a semi-unique password for every website, while we still have something that we can remember.
We really hope this tutorial was both useful and enlightening for you today. And remember that in the constantly evolving world of technology, you always need to protect yourself, because no one is going to do that for you.